Alright, welcome to my build guide for 3.29. It is once again the SRS Guardian for an SSF league starter. And this is what I've done. I have remade the entire PoB. So I've been using my build for the last couple of leagues, at least 3-4 leagues I think at this point in time. However, I felt that I could do a better job on the PoB. I think it was already pretty good, but I tried to improve it even further. And so I will walk you today in this video through the PoB, and I will also have a little bit of a showcase here and there, maybe to switch it up a bit. But for the most part, it will be PoB, and it will also be on the second screen, the written mobilitics guide. I will go through both of these. So starting with the PoB, I think what is the good starting point is all of the different loadouts. I have remade and redone all of the different loadouts than I had previously, meaning that what I have now done is added basically a theme to the loadout. So for example, you can't read the whole thing here, but if you go over here, for example, it says level 4 after mudflats and hillrake. So after you do the mudflats and after you kill hillrake, this is the situation, and then because it's a loadout, it loads a tree, it loads skills, it loads items, which I've kept empty for the most part to not confuse people. And it will load configuration. I have not set a configuration for most of the loadouts until level 90 or so. Because before that it's not about the damage, right? Before that it is about the skills and the tree and whatnot. So you start out, well, at the very start for the first couple of levels, you start out with rolling magma or whatever skill you prefer. And then after you kill hillrake and do the mudflats, you get this, right? You get SRS combined with summon phantasm and ruthless. And you also pick up a holy flame totem with summon phantasm and infused channeling. That's what you do. And you get shield charge and frostblin as well. So your movement speed is also fixed. And that's it. And you take some minion nodes. Level 10, after you kill Brutus, you make your way to the enduring bond over here. And for skills, the SRS will change a little bit. You will get melee splash and added lightning damage. The holy flame totem, you'll get combustion to reduce the fire resistance of enemies, and infused channeling for more damage, and then shield charge, frostblin, and a little bit of clarity. Then to level in the offhand, I made a small section. You can already start leveling Ruthless, which you had equipped previously, and minion damage. And you stop using, which is also in here, right? Stop using summon phantasm. Don't use that anymore. Next one, level 14 after killing Merveil. So at the end of Act 1, again, let's start with the tree. You take the enduring bond cluster, so now your SRS lasts way longer, which is quite nice. And I will take the mastery 30% increased AoE because this helps with the melee splash. This is just great for clear speed. In the skills, nothing has changed for this for the most part. However, there's yet another offhand thing that you level, which is flash offering. And I do suggest you already buy these and just put them in the offhand. Skill collars, socket collars should not be a problem anymore, right, in the new patch. So I do suggest you use this. Then, next one, level 18 after killing Piety. The tree, we take a little bit of life over here and then path towards sacrifice. Here you will give your minions a bit of life and regen, so it makes them a bit more tanky. They get some life as well. And then for the skills, same thing, right? SRS, melee splash. This again doesn't change. Don't level your clarity too high, keep it at level 5. Once you complete the Piety quest, you will be able to get Tempest Shield. This will make you shock immune and give you a bit of block chance. And the rest hasn't changed. Up next, if you don't want to click and do this, you can also hover and roll your mouse wheel. So up and down, right? This is also how you can nicely go through these loadouts, and then you can also nicely see how the tree evolves. So next part of the tree. Take some more attack speed for the minions with spiritual command and work your way towards purity of flesh for life and some chaos res. Skills, barely any change, if any, right? You take a desecrate and that's it. And you start leveling more stuff in the offhand. Minion life you can now buy, and also elemental damage with attacks. I'm assuming at level 22 that you don't have a 4 link. If you do, of course, slot it in, but at level 22 you typically will not have a 4-link. So you will have this setup, you will still have the same setup as before. Going to level 26, the tree, you take the life and then you start working on the reservation over here. And the skills, now you will have a 4-link. If you don't have one, just gamble it at Faustus. And you will add your elemental damage with attacks to the existing setup. Holy Flame, you don't bother getting a 4-link for this. So yeah, don't worry about it. You get the Flammability Curse and also you get Purity of Elements. Because you have Purity of Elements, you are now ailment immune and you get a lot of elemental resistances and your army gets this as well. And that means that Tempest Shield is out, right? Stop using Tempest Shield. You don't need this anymore. Up next, level 30, the library side quest. You will be completing your reservation and make your way to this minion cluster over here. And then you will pick up a lot of skills, because that's why you're doing the library side quest. The SRS does not change, still the same setup, but you will get yourself an Animate Guardian, a Spectre, minion life you were leveling in the offhand, and meat shield. You can buy these 3 from the library. I also put a regex that you can just put into the Ciosa search window and it will all highlight what you need to buy. Shield Charge Frostblin doesn't change. Clarity Desecrate you already had. Flammability you had. Purity of Elements you had. You pick this up. Automation Convocation. This automatically convocates or let's say teleport the minion army to you, except the SRS. They don't work with Convocate, but all the other Spectres and stuff, they will come to you and heal. And you already also pick up Feeding Frenzy and Elemental Army. You will link this later to a golem, but you don't have a golem right now. And you will pick up some skitterbots, but don't activate it yet because you will not have enough mana. And then in the offhand, you will level Elemental Weakness and you will level Haste Aura. Although you likely don't have enough dexterity to actually start leveling this, but if you do for whatever reason have enough dexterity, already start leveling this in the offhand. Otherwise you can just keep the haste in your inventory for the time being. This is also the point where you stop using Holy Flame Totem, because you need the socket room for all of these other skill gems. And you really don't need it anymore, I would say. You can keep it around for just a little bit if you want. And if you only have it on a 3-link that you can spare, you can use it in the laboratory, which is the next layout, right? So this is the first ascendancy. If you still have the Holy Totem, you can keep using it. You start working and keep working on the minion cluster over here, and you take the Radiant Crusade. This gives you your level 20 Summon Sentinel of Radiance. This is absolutely massive, and this is what will carry you all the way through at least yellow maps. So this is insane, really. For skills, not too many changes, right? Not too many changes compared to what we already had. But now you will have your Sentinel of Radiance. Now you should really stop using Holy Flame Totem, because your Sentinel will burn everything to the ground. Next part, level 40, after killing Malachi, so that is after Act 4 is done. The tree, you complete this minion cluster and then you start traveling to get to Eldritch Battery ultimately. So you will start traveling over here towards Eldritch Battery. The skills, you will have a golem now, because you can buy this after you kill Malachi. Technically a little bit before, but that's fine. So get your carrion golem and also buy a chaos golem. Just don't activate it yet because you can't. Because you can't have 2 golems out at the same time at this moment. So only do the carrion golem. This will be a significant damage increase as well to your SRS minions. For the rest, barely any changes. You can, however, and you should also pick up multistrike. Again, start leveling multistrike in the offhand, because later this will be your single target gem. Right? You will start using this. Also, you will get Unleash as a quest reward. You will replace the added lightning damage support with Unleash. Unleash helps you to summon a bunch of raging spirits at the same time. So this is great, and this will allow you to have 20 SRS out at all times if you so please. Before you have Unleash, you will have a hard time getting 20 SRS out, but with Unleash it is very easy to do. So added lightning damage support you will not have to use anymore. You can just put it in your stash, you can sell it, doesn't matter, right? It will never make a return. Alright. Moving on. 46, after killing Kitava. After killing Kitava, that is Act 5, of course. You will get Eldritch Battery, you will make it all the way over here, and also you will take these two nodes. Mystic Bulwark for some block, but primarily for the mana mastery. 12% increased mana reservation. This allows you to use 3 auras in the skills. And the auras are here. I've now labeled them, right, as auras. Purity of Elements, Haste, and Summon Skitterbots. These are the auras you will use from this moment forward for the rest of the campaign, and honestly for the rest of the game. You will never change this. That means Clarity is out. You don't need Clarity anymore because you have Eldritch Battery. So you use your Energy Shield, which is now on top of your mana bar. This is what you use to cast, so you don't need mana anymore, meaning you don't need Clarity anymore. So these are your auras. I now labeled your movement skills, right? Shield Charge and Frostblin. Your golem is still the same, and the rest hasn't changed. And keep an eye on what I put in your offhands still, right? So it's still that minion damage, it is still Ruthless, Flash Offering is still there, Elemental Weakness is still there, and Multistrike is still there. Level 50. Here you get an extra golem, as the layout or as the loadout tells you. That is over here. Here you get your extra golem with Golem Commander, +1 to maximum number of summoned golems, plus golem effect, right? This is level 46. This is level 50. This means you can have also your other golem out, so now that is enabled in PoB. Here is your Summon Chaos Golem, and this will give you Chaos Resistance, which you likely need, which is why I'm putting this in. You could go for a Stone Golem if you so please, but I think for a smoother leveling progression, a Chaos Golem is nice. Apart from that, no changes, which will be true most of the time after this. Next one, Second Ascendancy. Here you get the Unwavering Crusade. Unwavering Crusade triggers Elemental Relics, and these Elemental Relics give you 3 auras. Anger, Hatred, and Wrath aura. This is another massive damage increase. So don't wait to do the second lab. At level 55, just do it, right? Follow this guide. It's there for a reason. This is massive DPS increase. It's only gonna make the campaign smoother, and you already do enough DPS to smoothly clear the second lab. You take a bit of life here on the tree, and you also take these nodes over here. This is more life, and this is some strength and dex. You will need dex and some elemental resistances, so you don't have to worry about gear too much to be resistance capped. Loadouts after this. Some chaos res and minion damage. That is over here. This cluster will give you chaos resistance, 16% in total, and a bunch of minion damage. There will be basically no changes until further notice in the skills. So I'm gonna ignore this for the time being. Right, this will all be the same loadout. See, it's still the same 4-link. It's still the same Race Spectre. It's still the same golems. This has not changed, right, whatsoever. Same auras, same movement speed. This is not gonna change for the foreseeable future. Then, a trigger wand. Because now you're in the part of the campaign where you can get the trigger wand from the refinery. It is underground. You can pick it up over there. And then you can use it. And I advise you to do that already, right? You will probably have the 3 chaos orbs that you need to craft this. As long as you have a wand which has an open suffix, you should do this. And then what you put in there is here, the trigger wand. You put in desecrate. You put in flash offering, which you were leveling in offhand, right? And the elemental weakness, which you were also leveling in the offhand, right? So this is great to have. This is another massive damage increase. Then level 70, the third ascendancy. This is also a mandatory ascendancy. This is not an optional one. The Bastion of Hope. If you've attacked recently, you get spell block or attack block, and if you've cast a spell recently, you have spell block. So this means that your only attack that you can do in this build is your shield charge, which is your movement skill. So if every 4 seconds you use shield charge, which I think in most cases you will, just to move around, you will actually get 25% attack block, and any other thing that you do with this build is a spell, including summoning SRS, so that will give you spell block. After you have this and the nodes, which now you will get on the tree, here is a bunch of block nodes and here are a bunch of block nodes, you will be very close to block cap. You will have very high block chance and spell block chance after this, making you quite tanky. Next one, level 75. This is a passive tree swap and you can very nicely see that if I hover over and swap between the two. It's minor, right? You remove a bunch of nodes over here which are really not that great for your build. And you go into some strength and some life. And over here you just optimize the pathing a little bit. That's all you do, and you will have enough points from the campaign, because now the campaign is over, right? You're level 75. You will have enough passive points just from doing the campaign to make this swap. So you don't have to spend any gold or have any regret orders or anything like that. This is a small swap. Level 80, you get a third Spectre because you're pathing over here. So this allows you to have another Spectre. I will talk about Spectres later in the written guide primarily. Level 86, you start investing into max res, and also you take the mastery for corrupted blood immunity. This will give you +4 max res or +3 max res for everything, and here's another one in the block node. So now you are at 79% all res. You can get an implicit in your chest piece, an eldritch implicit for another one all res, making you 80% if they're already at that point. Level 88, you don't have to have this order of course, but I think this is very reasonable. Level 88, you take your 4th ascendancy. You need to do this anyway. Later on we will swap to Katarina, but you need to have this, right? So I go time of need personally. This I would say is an optional choice. You could go harmony of purpose for a random shrine, meaning that basically after 10 seconds you will be walking around with one shrine, and after 20 seconds you will have 2 shrines constantly on you. It's much more inconsistent than time of need, but this can be a lot of fun as well. You could even go for more tankiness in Radiant Faith if that is what you want. This is quite a bit of energy shield, but you know, you have Eldritch Battery, so this doesn't directly contribute to much. So I think the choices really are Harmony of Purpose or Time of Need. Do not take Martial of Divinity, right? This is completely pointless. I take another level 88, right? So that is 2 levels higher than 86, meaning I take these 2 points for a jewel socket. And once I'm at level 90, I take another over here. The idea is, of course, that you put Ghastly Eye Jewels in there with some life, with some flat minion damage, that sort of thing. So at this point in time, you have 3 sockets available. I'm assuming you have done a little bit of Abyss, either via Scarab or, you know, maybe you spec it into the tree, or you will just encounter some Abyss here and there as well. It's not unreasonable at level 90 that you have found at least 3 Ghastly Eye Jewels. Level 90 is also that I say that you have a 5 link, and this is the moment you can go for 2 Voidstones. So if you go to skills now, you will see that there is a 5 link in here, and I have used a multistrike. So the other support gems are still the same, right? It is Summon Raging Spirit, Multistrike, Unleash elemental damage with attacks, and minion damage. The minion damage got added, and the Multistrike has replaced the melee splash. If you are clearing maps, and if you're just running maps, you don't run Multistrike, you run melee splash. If you run bosses and do the 2 Voidstones, meaning Searing Exarch, Eater of Worlds, that sort of thing, right? Then slot in Multistrike. You have been leveling this in the offhand if you have followed the guide. So this is the Multistrike setup. This is way more DPS, right? Like significantly more DPS. A 5 link, this setup, and these 3 Spectres, any rarity Forest Warrior, and a Host and a Carnage Chieftain, which you can get from the campaign. That is more than enough to get yourself 2 Voidstones. So that is, I think, good to realize. I have now also started leveling in the offhand a bunch of Spectres, because ultimately at the end of the day you want to corrupt one of these gems and try to make it level 21. That's enough for a 5 link. Then have a few more loadouts. After you got your 5 link and your 2 Voidstones, it's not too hard to make it to level 95. And of course you can make it to level 95 first and then do 2 Voidstones, right? Depending a little bit on how much you progress. But I have chosen for level 95 because that is a nice cutoff point for most builds. And you will have some more life over here. I took some additional life nodes and again a jewel socket. Otherwise, no changes, same tree, also the same skills, right? Still a 5 link. Then a Katarina swap. So the time of need is gone. And you go here to the Bloodline Ascendancies and you take Umbral Army. This is a very nice node because you will get increased attack speed for each Raging Spirit. So that gives you 40% attack speed. This is nice for your movement because the shield charge movement skill, that scales with attack speed. And you will also get 10% increased defenses per race Spectre. So that means increased armor and increased energy shield. Later down the line, you might even be able to summon some phantasms and then get some actual movement speed on top of the attack speed from the shield charge. So all in all, this is quite good. Increased attack speed is also very nice because your summon Raging Spirit is a spell. It has cast time. So the higher your cast speed, the less time you spend casting SRS. That's the Katarina swap. Then I have a loadout that shows you the gear and specters that you need for 4 Voidstones. And this is a significant step up in difficulty for Voidstones, by which I mean the Maven one and the Uber Elder one, right? Those fights are no joke. So get a 6 link, right? With again multi-strike in here for single target and melee splash for clear. But for bosses you do multi-strike. And then you add on top of everything you already had, you add Ruthless. Try to make sure that these gems are 20-20, so 20 quality, level 20. That's also a significant damage increase. The rest of the layouts and gears and skills haven't changed, but I have put in a bunch of items just to give you an idea what I think you should roughly aim for. Right, so get a somewhat reasonable wand. Doesn't even need to be +1. But get some damage, attack speed in there, and of course the trigger. I think the shield +1 should be reasonable, so that's probably pretty good. And also the helmet at least get a +1, right? I think that is again reasonable at this point. And then the rest is just decent gear, nothing special, but decent gear, and make sure you have Eldritch Implicits. So I've put the implicits here as well, right? This is fist damage taken as fire, fist damage taken as fire. This can be anything, right? It can be lightning, cold, chaos, even if you're chaos res capped. But have a good look at these as the implicits, as the type of stats that are on there. This is the type of gear that you need to take on the 4 Voidstones. Also make sure you have a Darkness Enthroned, because this is a huge power spike. Like an absolutely massive power spike. And then start crafting these Ghastly Eye Jewels. I just alteration spam and then regal and exalt. That's what I do. And try to get life on there. Flat damage, ideally physical. Anything else is fine too in terms of flat damage, but not chaos. Now don't give them chaos damage, but anything else is fine too. And attack and cast speed is also quite nice for these guys. That's what you're looking at. Fix your flasks, of course, right? But primarily take care that you have good jewels. Get a source of taunt and blind, as I have here, right? 5% chance to taunt, 5% chance to blind. Get some blind and taunt on there. Life, flat minion damage, and attack and cast speed. Make sure you have the Darkness Enthroned and just take a look at this gear, get something along these lines. And then you should be fine. And your skills, right? 20-20, 6 link. You should be okay for 4 Voidstones. And then much later, because this requires another round of significant investment, in SSF at least. In Trader, guess you can just buy shit, but in SSF, if you want to do Uber content, and I will show a little bit of footage, because you can, and I did, right? You can kill Uber bosses. However, you should be aware that, again, you need significant gear for that, and significant skills and damage and whatnot. So I have not put in any imbued support, right? I had that, of course, but I did in the footage what you see. This is in standard, SSF standard, so I don't have imbued stuff in there. It is the same layout, right? Summon Raging Spirit, multi-strike, minion damage, unleash, elemental damage with attacks, Ruthless. This is from a real character. So this is real gear that I have, and you can tell the stats, right? Effective hit pool, 233,000. And this is not cheated in any way. Like, this is the actual hit pool, because You know, it's not that I have like a steel skin active or molten shell, because that's not part of the build. So there's that. You might say like, hey, why do you have minus 50 reservation? That is because of the Spectre auras that you have. If you do not do this, it is fine, right? No warnings. But you will have these from the Spectres, Grace and Vitality. There's also in the configuration some stuff from the Animate Guardian. Some buffs from the Animate Guardian right there. And this is what you would be using, roughly speaking. So you can have a look at this if you want. This is aspirational gear, you would say. But if the question is, hey, can this build do Ubers? Yes, it can, right? It can, and I have, and you have the footage right in front of you. I also made a whole video a few weeks ago where I killed all of these guys as well. But the footage that you're watching right now, I just did that earlier today. You can do that with this build, with these items, with these skills, and that is it. And with this tree. And again, the tree, it is very similar, right? The only thing that you start doing at this level is get way more tanky by using tech as Divine Shield, Wicked Ward, and Mind Over Matter, which is probably worth explaining. So Mind Over Matter is 40% of damage is taken from mana before life. And because you have Eldritch Battery, now your energy shield covers your mana bar. So it is actually taken from the energy shield. Now, what you don't want is that the energy shield stops recharging whenever you take damage, which is why you take Wicked Ward. So it says energy shield is not interrupted by damage if recharge began recently. This is often the case, right? So you will not be interrupted with your energy shield recharge now all the time. It will typically keep recharging, meaning you can just cast your spells and whatnot. If you don't take this, you will be basically out of mana all the time you take damage, which is not what you want. So Wicked Ward is then great, and then to sustain your energy shield a bit more and a bit further, you take Divine Shield. 3% of physical damage prevented from hits recently is regenerated as energy shield per second. And because you're so tanky and you have quite a bit of physical mitigation, right? My Fizz max hits is 16k. This is quite a nice node, and you regen a lot of energy shield by having this node. So that is the tech that you add sort of on top of this. It also requires your character to be level 100 or this doesn't fit. So yeah, this is what you're looking at. I have reached this state, for your information, in about 7 days of playtime. So that's about 160 hours, give or take, in SSF. Those are all the loadouts. And then you went through most of the sections. I have notes too. And we will get to the written guide in a second. I have made a bunch of regex strings, which you can copy paste, and it will show you vendor recipes. It will just show you links, no colors, only links, 3, 4 and 5 links from the vendors. All the skill and support gems in Act 1, all the skill and support gems in Act 2, all the skill and support gems in Act 3. So just put this into the vendor search bar, right? The library skill and support gems that you need to buy, and then the Act 4 skill and support gems you need to buy. And after you've done all of this, you have everything you need. And then I have some for rolling maps for way later. Bandits, kill all. The progression trees, I will still work on these, but you could use these. I will do roughly something like this. But the tree changed a bit, right? And I don't think it is updated yet. Spectres, again, a small section on it. Carnage Chieftain, Host Chieftain, Force Warrior. That is your go-to, and then later you can replace a Host Chieftain for either a perfect Warlord, a perfect Guardian, a perfect Primal Thunderbird, or a perfect Hulking Miscreation. Ultimately, if you play long enough, you have a Forest Warrior and 3 out of the 4 of these. That is what you will end up with, right? Do not drop the Forest Warrior, and then just mix and match whatever you find first. Get those guys as part of your Spectre army, and these are all pretty good buffs for your army, either damage-wise or defense-wise. That is the PoB. Now, on top of the PoB, you will have this video. That's one thing. But you will also have a written guide. And this will always have the latest updates. There are some things I still need to do, but there's also a bunch of other things that I described. Because what are the changes to the build in this patch, right? So in short, very few, but a few nerfs. The coins are gone, so no more imbued gems. So no level 1 free support gems, that's about 15% less damage. And the breach genesis tree got nerfed, right? Fine. Buffs. The pause thing, no one knows how impactful this is going to be. I think it's going to be massive, but it could be a typical GGG 1% increased damage. We'll just have to see. But this could be close to doubling your damage. Socket callers, of course, I don't need to tell you anymore at this point. This is huge for SSF. I took a look at the new pool of corrupted implicits. I think these are an improvement. So I think you have a much nicer time to, if you are willing to do that, right? Use Val Orbs on your good gear. You can get a very good corrupted implicits. The mercenaries, nice temporary buff. Ghastly Eye Jewels, minor buff, 15% increased movement speed, previously up to 10. Reflect maps are gone, which is good, and I think Thorns is very manageable. The raised Spectres will not make as much noise anymore, that's nice. A little bit of a buff of the minion damage on a wand craft, and you can right click the icon for your Animate Guardian to feed their currently equipped items, which is also a very nice quality of life. Loot filter and PoB. This will be updated, but you can already use it and just load it and update it to the new league if you want. So this is a loot filter for the campaign and the early end game. 2 VODs that you can follow. This is the 2 test runs that I did the last couple of days. This is the campaign in 5 hours, and then this is the tier 1 to 2 Voidstones in another 7 hours. I have also earlier this week managed to make it to the 2 Voidstones within 8 hours, but I think that was very sweaty and not really how I normally play. So this is much more closer to sort of the laid back approach that I typically take, and I would recommend that you look at these for inspiration, or if you just want to see, you know, how the build looks like in certain stages of the game. This is it. A little bit of an overview. Strength and weaknesses. There are no uniques required for 2 Voidstones. You can use SRS from the start. You have about 5 million DPS on average gear, about 11 million DPS in a geared endgame character, and this could go up significantly because of that pause thing. There's one swap, which you will have the points for. It's easy to gear, easy to scale, easy to understand. It becomes really tanky, as you could have seen, right? No transfigured gems, no clusters. It synergizes well with bloodlines. It's comfy, I think, at least. Good DPS uptime, and you have a very extensive build, which you would hopefully agree with at this point. Here, it does require a bit of gear to take on 4 Voidstones, right? The support gems, you can swap, you have to swap. So for bosses, you'd put in multistrike. For clear, you put in melee splash. To keep a high block chance, you have to shield charge every 4 seconds. And there is, and there will be a ceiling to how much damage you can do. 10 million DPS is enough to kill Ubers, because you're also pretty tanky. But, you know, if you want 40 million DPS, this build is not going to give it to you, right? You will have to find something else. And as with any minion build, Spectre management is not great. Then the build variants, these are the exact same as all the loadouts in the PoB, just on the website form. So I'm not going to go over this, but it's exactly the same. Skills, everything exactly the same. A little section about how it plays. It is a 1-button build. After the campaign, you just have to cast Summon Raging Spirit. Everything else is automated. Right, convocation is automated with automation. Elemental weakness, desecrate, and flash offering are triggered by the wand. You have movement speed skills, and if you want, you can press file haste whenever you have that up, and that's it. And sometimes you'll have to resummon like a golem if something dies, or maybe the Sentinel of Radiance or something like that. But for the most part, especially in normal content, the only thing you have to press is Summon Raging Spirit, and these auto target as well. Scaling. Defensive scaling. I tried to list the several scaling options here because that will make it easier for you to figure out what gear you would like and that sort of thing. I think this is much easier than showing you gear. I will teach you how to scale the defenses. So it's armor on the one hand, block. I already explained this before. Maximum resistances, 80%. Physical damage taken as. We convert 16% of Fizz into other elements. This increases your Fizz max hit quite a bit. Increase defenses if you use it to summon Stone Golem, which in later loadouts I think you should, because then you should be Chaos Res capped. And Umbral Army, minions blind on hit, reducing enemies accuracy, minions taunt on hit, making enemies deal 10% less damage to you. And they can block incoming projectiles, but they can also attract unwanted attention, so It's a bit give and take there. Enemies are chilled, so they don't move as fast. Corrupted blood immunity, elemental ailment immunity, and very late that setup that I already explained before. As well, this is a very, very strong mix offensively. A few sort of vectors of scaling. The flat damage of minions, which is first of all scaled by their level, which is why minion levels are so important. It's also scaled by buffs like hatred, which you will get from those elemental relics, right? Hatred, wrath, and anger. Those are all flat damage. Summon Carrion Golem also adds flat damage, right? Additional physical damage. The Ghastly Eye Jewels do the same thing, so these all add flat damage, which is what you want. Then increased damage, mostly from your wand, and basically the entire tree is increased damage. Multiplicative comes primarily from your support gems, right? Because all the more multipliers are over there. You could probably argue that hatred is also a more multiplier, because it's the only source of physical damage as extra cold. I don't know what that technically would be, right? I am not really a build guy or versed in like the intricate build details of Path of Exile 1 or 2. You know what I'm saying here, I think, right? Multiplicative scaling, and whether hatred is part of that, yeah, let me know in the comments, I suppose. But hey, I'm just trying to be honest about this. All of the others are definitely multiplicative scalars, right? So all the support gems and whatnot. And then technically maybe not correct, but this is just how I look at the build. So that's why I do this. There's a fourth category, you could say, which isn't the damage that you do. It's not the damage output, but it increases the damage received by enemies. By things like punishment, flammability, elemental weakness, intimidate, covered in ash, scorch, you can do scorch, penetrating resistances, and shock. Right, these are all things that make the enemies take increased damage. And then finally, you can of course scale the number of minions. So SRS is 20. Maybe there is a way to increase that in the new league, who knows, right? Don't take the support gem that give it more, because you shouldn't use a support gem for that, but maybe you can find, you know, an item or a craft that does that. If you can, that is clearly a damage increase. The trigger craft, I've talked about this, but it explains this a little bit more. Then I have some work in progress sections, but it is about how you get some items. A +2 minion helmet, rock crafting. Rock may offer a +1, and then you get the option to increase affixes by a tier, and if that hits the +1 minion, you get a +2. This is one of the ways. Map runners and ritual, pretty often I find it from over there. Ground loot is also an option, and the harvest craft. So there will be a harvest craft once more. It already exists in Mirage, and it requires 3 crystallized rancors. And right now in 3.29 those will come from an anomaly map. So that means it's very late game, because you need to have Voidstones and to spawn these things even. Not gonna be easy, but it is an option. And every time you spend this craft, you will have a 1 in 11 chance for a +2 and a 10 in 11 chance for a +1. That's the weighting. Abyss jewels, this is what you should focus on if you craft Abyss jewels. And then the rest of the gear, I've made an attempt to say where I get these things from. And in some cases I've made videos at this point, so I will then link those videos in this guide as well. So this is just to see where you can find these things from. Annoyance, I got a few nice ones. I always basically take Testudo. This is a very cheap annoyance and it helps you cap your block chance. I think very nice annoyance. Pantheons early on, Lunaris and Ruthle. Later on, because I do red altars and I suggest you do the same, Lunaris and Aberrath. Spectres, we talked about it already. I've told you here where you can find them. Act 2, Frenzy Charges. Act 6, Power Charges. Force Warrior from Ritual. And all of these are from Ritual as well. Animate Guardian, a little section on how it works. And then the gear that you can put in the Animate Guardian. These are early game options that if you find them, good for you, right? Put them on that Animate Guardian. It's pretty decent if you have it. Later you should aim for this, a Dying Breath, a Lair Cast, a Cosprey's Will, or a +1 curse chest, so that he can do another curse. SNS Gentle Touch, this will help immensely with clear speed. So once you find this and put it on your AG, and make sure he can have then an extra curse, otherwise this is not going to work. Lots of clear speed, because he will blow up everything, right? And a Legacy of Fury from the Maven. Or a Windscream for another +1 curse. And then very aspirational gear, the Garb of the Ephemeral. I think this is coming from Cortex, I'm pretty sure. And the Kingmaker, which you will never get in SSF, but I thought I'd put it out anyway. Atlas passive trees, I will still have to update this a little bit with the new trees, but you can import these and look at them and then have a decent idea of what I'm gonna do. Map progression, right? It's a bit of map progression. Flasks, what I think you should focus on. So get live with bleeding immunity, a granite, jade, quicksilver and quartz flask. These are the 5 flasks that you should aim for. And then for prefixes, I do duration and charges on getting hit, because you get hit quite a bit. And then make sure as suffixes, armor, evasion, reduced effective curses, and movement speed. That's what I aim for. The Darkness Enthroned, I'm explaining why it's so good, because of the effect on it, right? 100% up to 100% increased effect of Socket Abyss Jewels. This is just a massive damage increase if you have, for example, a double flat damage on these Ghastly Eye Jewels that you put in there. The Regex Strings, once again, you can also find them over here. And then some frequently asked questions. What items to buy? Check the scaling sections. Why no zombies? Because they die and they do no damage. In my very late game setup, I do have them, but you know, it's try to figure out if you can understand why I have them. If not, don't bother, right? Congregation, is it good? No, not in this build. And I'm res capped with Purity of Elements. What can I replace it with? Don't replace it. The reason why you have this thing is not only for your own res, but also for your ailment immunity and your army. So that is, I think, very important. And I think that covers everything. At the bottom there's a change log so you can see what I've done, and if you haven't visited for a while you can scroll all the way down and figure out like what has changed. But that's it. This is the 2 things that I will hand to you. The PoB, which is I think already quite self-explanatory in itself, but then also this written guide, which is massive and very extensive, and I've spent a lot of time on this, so I hope you appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy your league. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.